Look, fantasy football can be hard with the injuries and week-to-week keep-up. It can be even harder if you have a bad roster to start. So do yourself a favor and let's try and start off with a good draft. Now, it's not impossible to win a championship after a poor draft, right? But it really lowers your chances a lot. So we need to do our research, grab some of these undervalued gems, and these guys will win you your fantasy football leagues. Let me know if you guys want a part 2 to this down in the comments below, as I got a couple other guys that we can talk about here in the future. But before we get into that, if you enjoy the channel at any point, please support us down below. Whether if you just like the video or subscribe, it all goes a very long way. We're on the road to 500 subs on the channel, and we can't get there without you guys. But without further ado, let's get into these league winners. We're going to start off here with the quarterback in Miami, Mr. Tua Tagovailoa. And this is a guy you can get in the early 9th round. He's currently going as the quarterback 11, as you see on your screen. But Tua proved himself as a passer in 2022. He led all quarterbacks in passer rating, yards per attempt, and touchdown percentage on all of his throws. And disregarding his injury concerns that we had last year, right, he's still in an offense with 2 dynamic playmakers in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who those 2 have touchdown potential on each and every play anytime they touch the ball. He's my current quarterback 9 in Tua, right? And to me, he's no doubt a low-end quarterback 1 if he's healthy. But the biggest reason I love him is because of his draft price. Like I said, you can get him in the early 9th round. And let's just say, hey, if you draft Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle early on and you miss out on one of the big quarterbacks, right? And positional value is elsewhere, right? Maybe you take a tight end or a couple receivers or a couple running backs. You could get Tua later on in your drafts in the 8th, 9th round, and you're still going to be able to set your team up with one of the best stacks possible with a Tyreek Hill and Tua or a Jalen Waddle and Tua, as well as have a well-rounded roster around your quarterback and your receiver, right? So to me, no doubt, if I can't get a top 3 quarterback, I'm most likely going to lean towards Tua and that direction later on in the drafts. Staying in the AFC East with probably my favorite running back to draft this year, that is one Ramondre Stevenson. This year, I think it's very popular to start off with a tight end and wide receiver, or 2 wide receivers early on. And if you do start with a strategy like that, there's still a top 10 running back that you can grab in the 3rd round of your drafts that could potentially be a league winner. You guessed it, that is Ramondre Stevenson, right? But I'm going to start by saying that Damien Harris is gone. So the only competition that New England had last year in that backfield is now in Buffalo. This is going to be Ramondre's backfield. You might want to worry about Pierre Strong a little bit, but if you're going to worry about him, Ramondre is really not your cup of tea, right? Don't overthink it. Ramondre, it is his backfield. It is his offense. And if this offense is going to be relevant, it's going to be on the back and the shoulders of Mr. Ramondre Stevenson. But this is a guy that from weeks 5 to 16 last year, he finished as the RB13. And, I mean, hey, this guy was also one of the worst at finishing within the red zone, right, within the 10-yard line. So if this guy finished as a running back 1 last season with being one of the worst finishers inside the red zone, I mean, you can only imagine that if he gets in the end zone just a couple more times, and now that he has no competition in that backfield, he's going to get even more passing work, right, even more opportunity. So, I mean, you can only imagine that this dude is going to go up and ascend into a top 5 category if he could just find the end zone just a couple more times, right? But it is a good thing that this guy was running back 1 last year without being touchdown dependent, right? But not to mention, I mean, this is a guy that was also 3rd in targets among running backs across the league, right? So the potential for a top 3 finish is there for Ramondre this year. And, I mean, hey, he's my running back 6 as of now, and you can get him in the 3rd round. He's a league winner. Moving over to Josh Jacobs. I know, right? I know. 2 third-round running backs. Are these guys really that undervalued, right? To me, though, when my running backs 3 and 6 are in the 3rd round of drafts, yes, they're heavily undervalued, right? In this case, Josh Jacobs is going in the 3rd round, and he's my running back 3 on the season, right? Only behind Austin Eckler and Christian McCaffrey. And I love Josh Jacobs in the pre-draft process last season, and he delivered. I mean, he had the cheapest draft price for the production that he gave you, and he was the overall running back 2 on the season. I mean, you can't get much better than that, right, for an 8th, 9th round pick that he was last year. But this is a guy that he was a full-blown workhorse running back last year, and I expect the same coming into this year. He's in a contract year. He's going to be playing for big money, wherever that may be, right? If it's with Las Vegas or another organization, he's going to be playing for some big money, right? Not to mention, I mean, this is a guy that led the NFL in touches and rushing yards at the running back position. Las Vegas this offseason, they added no competition to the backfield, And on top of that, this team went out there and added the check down king himself, Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Jimmy Garoppolo loves the check down. We know this. And at least more so than Derek Carr, right? So that's only going to lead to more receiving upside for Josh Jacobs this year. All the signs point to Josh Jacobs having a repeat of last year, and you can get him in the 3rd round, right? So if you can get a top 3 back in the 3rd round, he's undervalued to me. Moving over to the wide receiver position, and if you know anything of this channel in the last 3 to 4 months, it's that I love Jordan Addison, right? And after all, I mean, a couple weeks ago, I predicted him to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year going into the year, right? But with Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen leaving this offseason, there's going to be 163 open targets to spread out in this offense. And I know Justin Jefferson is great. I know TJ Hockenson is great. But those two are not going to take all 163 of those targets, right? And to me, Minnesota knows that because they went out there and they drafted Jordan Addison in the 1st round with the 23rd overall pick. Jordan Addison, I mean, he's going to a team that lost a lot this offseason, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So to me, if Minnesota wants to repeat last year's success as far as team success, they're going to have to be dominant offensively, and they're going to have to put up tons of points. And I believe Jordan Addison's going into a situation where he's walking into a 100-plus target, 1,000-plus receiving yard season as a rookie, right? You don't see that often, but this is just a situation that is perfect for Jordan Addison to walk right into. And I believe if you can get that type of production and volume in the 7th round, you're in a pretty good shape to take your league over, as this guy might be your 3rd or 4th receiver at that point in the draft. And we're going to go back to the running back position here to finish off our list today with Antonio Gibson. I mean, it's an every year fight with him, it seems like, right? But can this be the year that we finally get to see that explosive Antonio Gibson year that we've been wanting to see for the last 3 years? But with Eric Bieniemy coming over from the Chiefs, and he's going to be coming over to the the Redskins, but the Commanders to call the plays, there's tons of optimism that this can be the year for Antonio Gibson, as Eric Bieniemy loves to utilize his running backs in a variety of ways, as we saw in Kansas City, and his hiring may have the most impact on Antonio Gibson fantasy-wise compared to the other options. But Antonio Gibson has finished as the running back 13, 14, and 31st in his first 3 years. So he's either a very good back or he's just a solid backup. But regardless, this year he projects to share the backfield yet again with Brian Robinson. No surprise there. But to me, this offense projects to be down a lot. And if that happens, if that is the case, that is only going to boost Antonio Gibson this year. As to me, he's the better receiver than Brian Robinson. And per PFF, he was the best pass protecting running back in the league last season. So if this Commanders team gets down early, let's say if they do, right? Who are they going to trust? You know, are they going to trust the person that is the better receiver and pass protector in passing situations? I think they would. And in that case, everything on paper says Antonio Gibson will have a majority of the time on the field. And if that is the case, I can see a very valuable running back 2, high-end running back 3 season in the 9th round, which is absolutely insane value, right, for a guy that could have that type of production. But I mean, at the same time, we have to worry about Antonio Gibson, the year in and year out fight, as he's going to be a risky pick no matter how you split it, right? No matter how good the situation looks, he's going to be a risky pick as it's Antonio Gibson, right? He can get it in his own way sometimes. But moving over here just to recap, as we had Tua Tagovailoa, Ramondre Stevenson, Josh Jacobs, Jordan Addison, and Antonio Gibson. Again, let me know down in the comments below if you guys want a part 2 to this, as I have 5 to 6 more players I can throw out there that can really help you win your league going into the next season. But that's going to do it for today's show. These shows are shorter, we know this, but regardless, we're on the road to 500 subs, and we're about 120 away, which is insane. So help us get to that point, as that's like a dream, right? And you know, I started this channel just out of the blue, and we're on the road to 500 subs, right? So if you enjoy the channel at any point, support us down below, and we're going to keep grinding. We'll be back tomorrow with some NBA power rankings, and we'll see you guys then. You know, have a good one, stay happy, stay healthy. We're out.